All right, besties, buckle up because we're diving into a major historical tragedy today. We're talking about Baldwin IV of Jerusalem. This is a guy with some serious main character energy who was born to be a king, but was cursed with the absolute worst luck in history. It's a story where destiny meets a whole lot of bad vibes.
So, what really happens when the chosen one gets dealt the worst possible hand? And not just by fate, but by their own family. That's really the heart of this story. A super capable king facing a totally impossible situation.
Okay, so picture this. Baldwin gets the crown of Jerusalem while he's just a teenager. I mean, talk about pressure, right? But he's totally up for it. And then, bam! The ultimate plot twist hits. He gets diagnosed with a devastating disease that's going to change, well, everything. And we're not talking about just any form of leprosy. He had lepromatous leprosy, like the most aggressive, deadliest version you could get. We know from sources at the time that by the end, he lost his sight and couldn't even use his hands or his feet. He literally had to be carried around on a litter just to rule his kingdom. Can you even imagine that? So, as if a terminal illness isn't enough to deal with, Baldwin's got problems coming at him from two sides. On the outside, you've got the legendary leader Saladin, who's busy uniting the entire Muslim East against him. But the threat on the inside, in his own court, oh, that might be even bigger. A political civil war was brewing. The whole internal drama basically boils down to two cliques. On one side, you had what we'll call the good faction, led by Raymond of Tripoli. These were the smart ones, the diplomats, the people who actually understood that making peace with Saladin was the only way to survive. And then there was the bad faction. This group was led by, get this, Baldwin's own mom, Agnes of Courtenay. And all she cared about was getting power for her and her friends. Yeah, let's zoom in on that bad faction for a minute, because this is where everything starts to go wrong. Seriously, this is some real Housewives of Jerusalem level drama. And right at the center of all the chaos is one person whose ambition is about to tank the whole kingdom.
So, meet Agnes of Courtenay, Baldwin's mother and, for our purposes, the undisputed CEO of chaos. She makes two just catastrophic decisions that basically seal the kingdom's fate before the final battle even starts.
So what did she do? First, she completely sidelines all the people who actually know what they're doing, like the brilliant historian William of Tyre. Instead, she puts her own buddies in charge, like this poorly educated guy Heraclius, who she makes the highest religious figure in the kingdom. But her second move, that was the real killer. It involved her daughter, Baldwin's sister Sibylla, and a truly terrible choice of husband. This is when Agnes marries her daughter off to a dude named Guy of Lusignan, and people at the time literally called him handsome but useless. I mean, come on, he was the walking, talking embodiment of a useless red flag, and this is the guy who's now in line for the throne. Yikes. So you can see the trap Baldwin's in, right? You'd think, okay, a king this sick should just step down, let someone else handle it. But he couldn't. He was the only thing holding the entire kingdom together and preventing total chaos. Seriously. Baldwin was stuck. He had to stay king, because the second he abdicated, all the toxic drama his mom cooked up would hand the entire kingdom over to that handsome but useless guy and his power-hungry friends. The whole thing would go down the drain.
And this is what's so wild. Despite being sick AF, Baldwin was an incredible military leader. He was out there on the battlefield, scoring major wins against Saladin's forces. The guy was literally carrying his entire kingdom on his shoulders, all while his own body was quitting on him. It's just incredible. But, a hero can only hold out for so long against odds like that. As Baldwin's health got worse and worse, he had to face the inevitable. That succession crisis his mom created, it was coming to a head, and the wrong people were about to win. And here's how the House of Cards came tumbling down. Baldwin's illness gets to the point of no return. He's forced to name a successor. And boom, all of Agnes's scheming pays off. Guy of Lusignan, through his marriage, is now the guy. And just like that, the incompetent, aggressive, short-sighted faction is officially locked into power. The kingdom was now totally unequipped to face its enemies. Baldwin died in 1185. He was only 24 years old. He spent his entire short reign fighting a war on two fronts, against Saladin on the outside and against his own family's ambition on the inside. With his death, the kingdom's last line of defense was just gone. Okay, so let's step back for a second.
because this story is more than just a sad tale about a sick king. This is where we get to the real gut punch, the real lesson here. This is a tragedy of governance. Because as absolutely tragic as his illness was, that's not the real tragedy of this story. No, the thing that doomed an entire kingdom, the reason we're still talking about this centuries later, is something else entirely. And here it is. Here's the big takeaway. An enemy at your gates? Yeah, that's dangerous. But incompetent, selfish, divided leadership inside your walls? That's not just dangerous. That is absolutely fatal. It's a threat multiplier that will destroy you from within every single time. Ultimately, the Kingdom of Jerusalem wasn't just conquered by Saladin's army. It rotted from the inside out. It died from a series of terrible leadership decisions, all driven by personal ambition and putting the wrong people in power for the wrong reasons. End of story. And that leaves us with a pretty heavy question that's just as relevant today as it was in the 12th century, right? When political self-interest and cronyism take the place of actual merit and the wrong people are put in charge, is total collapse always the inevitable result? Kind of makes you think, doesn't it?